Welcome to the Construction Show. I'm your host, Jared Downey. Today we have, very excited to have this guest because a lot of these episodes, I'm not the one who books them, but this one I booked. So I'm excited and biased towards it. Oz Lifting Products, we have Steve Naparowski on. He is the president of Oz Lifting Products, and we have Rich Miller. He is the sales manager at Oz Lifting Products. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Good to have you on.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we've been chatting off air and then doing planning out the interview and stuff. So hopefully there's plenty in the tank to talk about for the actual interview. I haven't talked you out. Steve, let's start with you. Let's kick it off right away with just who is Oz Lifting, the history of the company, where you're located, those types of things.
Yeah, sure. So we're located in Winona, Minnesota, a great little river town on the Mississippi River. And I got into this industry. I just love the lifting and rigging industry. I've been a part of it since 1988. I started as in the lifting world in inside sales for a manufacturer, and ultimately worked my way into being the sales manager. Left the company in 95, started my own rep business in 95, and I basically stayed in the same industry. I represented companies. Typically, they're small companies that can't afford a full-time sales force. So it was 100% commission business. And I represented, a handful of lines, all related, so that when I was calling on distribution, I could sell everything that I had to them, rather than, if I had an electrical line, well, that takes you to a different channel of distribution. And then in 2004, I started Oz Lifting. I had an opportunity. You get these windows of opportunities in your life, and this one I recognized, and I went for it. And we'll be rolling up on our 20th year next year. So it's been a fun ride. I wish I'd have started the business when I was younger.
I've heard that from a few people. And as someone who started a business when I was younger, I'm not sure if that's a good wish to have.
Yeah, right.
It's sometimes nice to have a little experience before you dive into things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the banker and me were really good friends. I remember when I started the business, I grabbed all these catalogs, and I remember going upstairs to our local bank. Jack Richter was the head of the bank at the time, and they're a family-owned business. And I said, Jack, I have a dream, and I shared with him my vision, and I showed him these catalogs, and I said, I think I can make this happen. And so at that point, I went all in. Fortunately, I had a wife that was really supportive and put everything on the line, because to start a business like I did, you needed inventory. And so it was a leap of faith, but it really worked out.
How many years did it take to sort of I mean, you had a lot of experience before selling, which is obviously a huge advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess doing the rep, you had a lot of distribution experience and that sort of thing. So how long did it take to sort of get a hold in the industry, though? Because you kind of do need to. Was to start it? Was it? Were you finding new business, or did you have to take business away from competitors? Or both?
Well, it actually. One of the things, I'll just take a step back. One of the things about the rep business that was really helpful for me is that I represented companies that I got really close to the owners, right? And so I was able to take best practice for, the good things that they do, I wanted to apply to my business. And so, the negative stuff, I obviously didn't want that carrying on. But yeah, it was interesting. I landed one big company in Chicago, and that they drove the business for me. And it didn't ramp up very quickly. It took some time. When you start from scratch, it's an uphill battle. And even 20 years later, Rich and I have talked. We're still the new kids on the block, and we go to trade shows, and people are like, "Who's Oz Lifting?" Well, we'll tell our story. And so it took a while.
Yeah, in the world of heavy industry, 20 years it's not very long.
No.
But we're also in an age now where if you have the experience, and we're going to get into some of your experience, it's pretty easy to see that you know what you're doing, to say the least. It is that there's more avenues now, like even coming on a platform like this, you can get out your name out there. you still only get one shot. That's something that's never changed. You don't get a lot of second chances, but if you've
No,
got things in place, you can get your shot much easier nowadays. I
absolutely.
would say.
Yes, I would agree with you on that. The internet has just really changed the playing field, and technology, social media, all of these things have impacted business. I remember when I first started in '88, the Thomas Register books were the way you got your name out, and so the
The
Thomas
what?
Register guy would come around once a year, and we'd look at what categories we wanted to be involved in, and that's how it was,
Yeah.
and and now it's a much different field.
Let's talk about our heavy industry world tour brought to you by Savannah Equipment, supplying mining equipment worldwide. We are heading to events across North America and Australia and filming episodes on location. Email us at info@crownsman.com to be part of Crownsman's Heavy Industry World Tour. When you see the orange iron of a Ditch Witch machine out in the field, you can be sure of one thing: a job is getting done. As the leading manufacturer of underground construction equipment, Ditch Witch has been a catalyst of innovation for the industry since the day they were founded. And with a worldwide and world-class dealership network that features over 175 dealerships across the globe, this equipment is backed by the best. Learn more at ditchwitch.com. Studs and helmets use cutting-edge head protection components used previously only in extreme sports helmets, now utilized in both of Studson's Type 2 models. The SHK1 and SHK1 full brim models are the most innovative helmets on any job site. Offering a revolutionary combination of Coroid and Twice-Me technologies, this Studson full brim helmet is the first of its kind in the Type 2 category, providing you with the protection and comfort you need to get the job done. Saving lives one helmet at a time. Studson, where safety meets innovation. You can visit them at studson.com to learn more. Zero Knox is leading the electrification of off-highway commercial and industrial vehicles. They provide a platform for clean energy technology to get to market through powertrain solutions, development partnerships, and electrification kit solutions for conversions. Reduce carbon emissions without diminishing vehicle performance or being restricted by high costs. Partner with Zero Knox, like many of the world's leading OEMs, as they solve challenges across multiple continents with their cleaner and higher performing technology. Zero Knox solutions are designed and engineered in America with offices in Porterville, California. Learn more at zeronox.com.
I do want to touch on that. What I said earlier, though, is that you in this world, though, you really do need to have like the amount of experience you have, and I've talked a bit to your team, so I see what the infrastructure a little bit. I've got a little bit of insight into what's sort of behind the company. That is so important because you can also run the risk nowadays. You can reach out to LinkedIn and talk to 30 people that you want to talk to just like that.
Mm-hmm.
If those 30 people say yes, you better be ready. Like you better be ready.
Oh, absolutely. I did not. We were when I worked for that company in the early '90s. We were members of an association called AWARF, Associated Wire Rope Fabricators, and it's a network of it's a combination of distributors in our industry as well as manufacturers that support that distribution with products. I spent a lot of time in that industry. I knew a lot of people, but I was terrified of joining. In fact, I didn't join. I probably joined about 8 or 9 years ago for that very thing,
Interesting.
Jared. If I would have put the foot on the gas pedal, I don't think I could have kept up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this was just a little talk for any entrepreneurs out there. But let's jump into
Yep.
let's jump into Oz Lifting. Rich, can you walk us through? I don't think I'm exaggerating to pretty much say your product is everywhere. So let's start. Well, let's first start. What's your role? What's your day to day at Oz?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, so I'm sales manager here. So obviously, being a smaller business, the sales managing side of it is one component. We all wear multiple hats here at our business, but that's kind of my primary function is obviously growing new business, maintaining existing relationships with customers, get in front of customers, and then coinciding, with that, getting feedback from users in the field and customers on new products and product development. I dabble in that as well. And yeah, so I've been with the company here since 2011. So have had a wealth of experience. Steve and I have worked side by side here over those years, and made thousands of sales calls together, and so it's been a really good growth of the company. And then for me professionally, just getting out and seeing industry, and seeing, it's always interesting to me to see how our products support, whether it's infrastructure or general manufacturing, or it could even be an individual, once again, starting a small business. Maybe they have a garage, they're in the repair business, or a maintenance, or whatever it may be. And so, for me personally, and I'm sure Steve could echo it, I'm passionate about helping people out, and it's that makes my day, is helping somebody out, and creating solving their issue, obviously, but then making sure we're doing it safe. That I get a lot of joy out of that day to day. So
reduce tire-related production interruptions and enhance vehicle safety with Doran tire monitoring systems designed for off-road, earth-moving, and industrial equipment. Real-time access to accurate, reliable tire pressure and temperature information helps operators and supervisors maximize equipment performance and tire life. Doran tire monitoring systems are designed to withstand extreme operation conditions while featuring simple installation and low maintenance. Visit doranmfg.com for more information on how Doran can help reduce equipment downtime and improve safety. With Fender Dunlop, you know you are getting the best conveyor belting in the market. That's because they ensure the integrity of their conveyor belting by monitoring each step of the manufacturing process in their North American facilities. Focused attention is given to each belting order to guarantee that they produce a belt that will assist the customer in reducing operation costs, maximizing uptime, and improving revenue. Visit FenderDunlopAmericas.com to learn more. L&H Industrial can custom engineer and build from the ground up any heavy equipment assembly or machine that you need for your operation. Their worldwide 24/7 field services network is on the job whenever you need heavy equipment troubleshooting, repairs, rebuilds, relocations, or replacements. And thanks to their specialized design and engineering and state-of-the-art manufacturing and repair services, they are a go-to international supplier for improved components and custom assemblies for heavy industrial machinery. Visit lnh.net to learn more.
Rich, I want to sort of for the audience understand, like even me, when I first went on your website, I went, oh, okay, I get it. I get what Oz Lifting does. And then I started to understand all the places. And I mean, we're talking like rescue boats and buildings and oil and gas plants. Like it just goes on and on. So can you just walk us through some of the products, where you'll find the products, just sort of give us a scope of it?
Yeah. So our products, it's material handling is what we manufacture. And yeah, as you said there, it's kind of a general, we're generalists in a sense, where the equipment is used to support infrastructure, construction, manufacturing, oil, gas, aviation. So there's really not a target market that we don't hit. Our product mix is wide and expansive, and supports a lot of different industry, everything from a little beam clamp all the way up to our 30-ton manual chain hoist. So there's just a lot of variety and applications that they're used in. So the market itself, when you're supporting something like infrastructure, a lot of the drivers are outside of your day-to-day scope, and so through our distributors, the products that we go to market can support, like I said, just a variety of different applications, and no two applications are the same.
What, like, sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Oh, sorry, Jared. I would just add that the beauty of our industry is that, and of our product line, is it's not cyclical, right? It's not. We're not ramping up for Valentine's Day that happens once a year,
right.
So we really don't see, you might have one area of the country that's slow for whatever reason, but you might have another area of the country that's got a lot of stuff going on. So to Rich's point, our products find their way into a lot of different applications, from a DIY person to NASA.
Right. Yeah. Well, I see it. Like I see pictures. I think this is like Amazon buildings. Aren't your units on like just a ton of them?
Yeah, they are. We're every Amazon building in the world will have one of our davit cranes on it. They're using them. They're mounting them up on the roofs tops, and they're used for pulling up filters and things for their HVAC system.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
So how does that come about, Steve? Like how do you that's not sold directly to Amazon. Like the business model that is going through some like a distributor or a partner. Do I have that
yeah,
right?
correct. Yeah, correct. We sell through distribution. I've always said you can't be a little bit pregnant, right? You either you either are or you're not. So you either sell through distribution or you sell direct to the public. And so we opted through distribution. I would guess that they found that particular crane that Amazon is using. We have it's actually patented, and we launched that crane. I know we're kind of getting a little off subject, but specifically to that crane, we launched that right when COVID hit, and so we're like, we've got inventory now. We got to get the word out, and so we decided to shoot a YouTube video of that crane and how it functioned. And within the first year, it had 400,000 views, and now it's got well over 1 million because it
Wow.
solves a problem that existed out there in industry that really no one ever had addressed until this product came along. And I'm guessing that's where they found it.
So what it was the problem it was solving? What's unique about this crane?
So with traditional davits, you have a boom and you have a mast and a boom, and so to adjust the boom out, typically what you have to do is lower your load, pull a pin, move the boom out, repin it, and that'll make your lift again. With this crane, it's called our TelePro. You can boom in and out while under load. So let's say you've started to make your lift with that boom all the way closest to the position that it's in, and you start making the lift, and let's say you're at a building site, and now whatever you're lifting scraping against the building. Well, now you can boom out and
Right.
allow that load to just freely come up without any interruption or getting hung up on something.
So is that like I'm just looking at the unit now. So is that like is it from the back? You adjust it from the back? How is it boomed out? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you can.
it's like a wrench thing.
Yeah, there's a spot there where you can either use the handle that comes with the hand winch, or we give you a drill drive adapter and you can drill drive that. And so most users probably use the drill drive. If you're looking for finite adjustment, you probably would go to the handle.
Right. And then just to kind of keep going with the theme, I like specifics because it just sort of paints that picture for people. Like Rich, I'm seeing it on here like a fire rescue boat. I'm trying to figure out why the picture of the boat is sitting out of the water. But anyway, that's a different question.
Yeah.
What is this? What would this be getting used for?
At TelePro specifically, that's a kind of more of a feature or function of the crane. Another thing that differentiates us is our material usage. So, we have cranes made of your traditional steel. We do aluminum, but we're also do cranes out of composite and carbon fiber. So that material makeup is key factor here. So specifically on that application you're discussing, if you could, mount the crane that weighs maybe, 40 pounds versus a crane that's 140 pounds off the back of that boat, obviously that's going to change the dynamics once it's in the water and they're getting to where they need to go or make a rescue situation. And so, that's where we've really leveraged, it's kind of a couple different considerations to make there when looking at a davit crane system. But that's where, with our offering, if you need lightweight, if you need something that's maybe a little bit more feature rich and gives you the flexibility like that TelePro, because you have a certain application where you function. We also do that. So, as we've continued to expand our offering and innovate and bring new products to the market, there's a few different ways to look at it, and that's kind of how we've approached it, and really giving consideration to the people using the equipment, trying to make their life easy and trying to make things safe, so that when they need to use it, they know it's going to work and they're going to be able to get what they need done.
So how are the clients deciding? I know it's to a distribution, so there's a lot of conversations that you're not having directly with the client, but how are you deciding what, like, do all of them come in steel and like carbon fiber, or does it depend on the actual crane? You're not doing all your units, and it's not like you can't just pick one or the other type thing, is it?
Right. Yeah. So basically, we have now 7 families of cranes, and so to kind of unpack that a little bit off of what I was just talking about, there, a customer may come to us, and generally it starts with, well, how often, what do we lift in here? How much weight? So that right there determines quickly. It might break that down to just a couple cranes, or you may, depending on how much weight you're lifting, if it's a smaller capacity, it really opens up your options. And then from there, typically the kind of key things you need to know: how much you lift, far is the load, moving, and then is there, reach, how long of an arm. And so that not only for the little cranes that we're talking about here, that kind of applies across the whole family of products that we had. When you're looking at a hoist or anything like that, it's those are kind of the key things you really want to work with the customer to determine what would be a best fit.
Yeah, and I would add to that, Jared. Traditional steel davit cranes, although companies will market them as portable, a lot of times they get mounted and they're left there because they are heavy.
Right.
And where with some of this lighter material that we're using, the aluminum and the composite, we were the first to introduce composite industry to our industry, and so when we go to trade shows, I stand and I hold the boom section, right? And so somebody will come up and they'll look at it and they'll go, I'll hold it out to them, and they're bracing. They're thinking they're going to grab something that's like 80 pounds and it weighs 20, and they're like, whoa, and they're looking at the end, and so the idea of that material, what it allows is, a lot of times we'll sell a davit crane and a base, right? And a cable assembly, and whoever the user is, could be a hospital making a lift, and they'll say, you know what, we could probably use this crane in another part of the building, so let's just buy another base. And so then they can just move the crane because it's so lightweight. And so users, they'll start with one application, and typically you'll see them buying more bases because they found, hey, we can throw it in the back of a truck. Well, we have a socket base that can go into a back of a truck. And so when you come out with something that's innovative like this, it allows innovation from the end user side too, because they'll say, hey, wait a minute, wow, we don't have to buy 10 cranes and 10 bases. All we need are those bases, and we'll just move the crane for whenever we need it.
Right. I saw the one on the wheelbase. I was thinking, because I used to do a little bit more work with like little electric motors on units and things like that. And I was thinking, man, that would have been. There was a lot of times we'd have now seeing this, it just seems ridiculous, because we'd have a forklift, and sometimes you'd chain the forklift, you'd put the eye thing through, you'd you move it, and we're talking 20 minutes. Right. Doing this, it would have taken about 5.
Absolutely. And since you brought up that wheelbase is going to be a game changer. Okay, I have a patent pending on that wheelbase. And so a traditional wheelbase, there's companies out there that have a davit crane and a wheelbase. But the problem with that is that, if you can imagine, here's your legs, but you need to lift the load over here, is where the product over here is what you need to lift. As soon as that boom gets outside of those legs, what happens?
Right.
The crane tips over, right? So the patent pending is the fact that if you have an application where you need to make this lift, maybe it's a motor, gearbox, what have you, you put anchors in the concrete and literally bolt our wheelbase to the ground. Now, once that's bolted, you have 360-degree rotation while under load. And Richie, you and I remember we were in Chicago. We got called, a distributor called us to a high-rise building downtown. So we're in the elevator, we're up on the 80th floor. 80th floor is where they put all the HVAC. It was all there. And whoever designed that building didn't think about maintaining any of the equipment up there. One, they couldn't get a forklift up there. Two, they couldn't get a crane system in there. So at that time, if we would have had that wheelbase, that would have been absolutely ideal for that particular end user, because they could have put these anchors in the floor in a variety of different places. And then when they needed to service that whatever, they go and bolt it down and make the lift and take care of it. So we're excited about that wheelbase. It actually hasn't launched yet. We're shooting for the first of the year. We're hoping to have that out, but that's going to be a real winner.
Yeah, it's a great look. And it looks like it has like extendable legs on the bottom too.
It does. Yeah, right. So the other thing with a wheelbase, as I mentioned, you can't move the boom outside of the wheelbase, nor can you take the boom further than the wheels are, because then the crane's going to go this way. So yeah, you have the ability, and we designed that crane or that wheelbase to accommodate 90% of our cranes. So 1,200 pounds and under, all the davits that we sell will fit on that wheelbase.
What, Rich, on the sales side? So, how do you approach now? You've got all these clients now, and I'm sure. I mean, I don't know what percentage of them would need this application, but I'm sure there's a good chunk. How do you go about sort of educating them, getting it out there? Like, this is on the market now. Is that pretty direct? You've got a pretty big network. I'm just curious, sort of how you communicate it. Walk through like the anchor system, all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and that's definitely a big component of it. Obviously, as Steve just explained, kind of the highlights of it. But once you kind of get down once again into some of the features and making sure you let people know how they can leverage the benefits of what we've put into the base. So yeah, for us, obviously with it being a online presence, we do video, we do photo, we have social media. We actually use a PR firm out of the United Kingdom that handles. We focus in on specific publications, both with and still in paper magazines and with an online presence. And then obviously with our distribution network, they're obviously a big marketing end for us as well. So it's partnering with those distributors, having discussions with them on getting the product on their website. Because ultimately they're the ones that are going to be in front of the customers, have the contracts, have the conversations. And so we really have a strong understanding of from us to our distributor or our customer, but then also from our customer to their customer. And so that's ultimately, it's kind of a few tiers there that we really need to be kind of strategic really with our marketing, because you don't necessarily want to cater to one specific group or one specific application. But as you kind of asked there, there is a few things to unpack there with the features of the cranes. So education is really the biggest thing, but a lot of these ideas are generated from our activity out in the field, and whether it's at a trade show or maybe it's one of our inside sales folks has a great conversation with someone, and a lot of the the product development is driven by end users having an issue in the field. Hey, we need to be able to get to this area with the crane. How do we do it without permanently? We can't permanently mount it, or maybe it's a building that someone has to service. Well, the owner of the building doesn't want them drilling into the building, up on the roof, or they don't want them putting in a base, within the maintenance room. And so there's quite a few different factors that kind of determine what the needs and wants of the end user are. But yeah, as far as that marketing piece, that's such a different landscape over really the last 10 years. I mean, just the power of, the different social media sites. It's quite a landscape, but as you know, all it takes is one person, to like something or to say, hey, that's pretty cool. And then it can get shared, throughout those different platforms. So, oftentimes, with some of the videos we shoot, as Steve had said earlier, with that one video did with that Telepro, I think we're north of 800,000 views on one video.
Wow.
And so, where else can you, what would you have to do to get nearly 1 million people, million sets of eyes, on your product? So, and every day we're learning more, and we're listening to feedback and trying to stay active in those different, media outlets.
I was just curious, who are the distributors? Like you mentioned Aerospace. Actually, I'm going to ask a question about the Aerospace specifically first. When are your distributors coming to you? Let's say a Boeing is making a new facility, or they're expanding the facility, or whatever it is. Are they coming to you and saying, hey, this is the setup, and then you're plugging it in, or are they in that business already? So then they're just placing an order with you because they already know your product line. What's the dynamic there? And to tack on to that, in a facility like a Boeing, what kind of units would they be putting in to that type of facility?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of that is derived from the distributor. So they probably have relationships with Boeing, or maybe once again, maybe Boeing's at a trade show or sees something on the web And with those relationships, they would see, okay, we've determined that Oz Lifting makes these little cranes. Can they do something for us? And so specifically with the airlines, we do have some specific applications there. I know that our chain hoists were spec'd in to basically lift the engines. And so with the different airlines, some of them have more modern hangars, some of them are older hangars. So it really depends on if they're able to integrate new technology, new lifting technology within the facility. So that's where they leverage some of the benefits of some of our products, where they can, if let's say it's an older plant. We have one of our cranes. We did a special crane for them that basically services the windows of the aircraft. So every so many flight hours, they need to replace those windows. They also need to service the Wi-Fi radome on top of the aircraft. So they came to us and said, "Hey, here's the issue. You guys make these little cranes. What can you do for us?" And so it was kind of a organic, if you will, just with conversations and kind of some back and forth to come up with these solutions. Because at that particular application, it was an older hangar where they didn't have the opportunity to put in a larger, bridge crane, and they wanted to obviously not spend a lot of money either. They wanted to have something that could integrate with equipment that they're currently using. And so those are just a couple examples, within the aviation industry, among many others.
We were told that when when that plane's sitting there, it's costing the airlines tens of thousands of dollars of not generating revenue. So they want things like planned maintenance, like Rich had said with the windshield. If that plane is flowing X amount of miles and that windshield has to come out, well, that plane's got to be decommissioned. Yeah. So the faster they can get that new window on, the quicker they can put that plane back into service.
Steve, something that came to mind, Rich was saying that is, I mean, you mentioned you're a smaller company. I probably should clarify small in comparison to what? You're kind of all across it.
Yeah.
You're kind of everywhere.
There's a little north of 20 of us here.
Yeah. Wow. That is, wow. So you service a pretty big market for that size of team.
Oh, we do.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, but how important is it though to have that flexibility, to have, because maybe I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine that a company some of these companies are 30 times the size. I mean, whoever your competitors are they, how important is it to be nimble, to be flexible, to be able to sort of that problem solving aspect, as opposed to, this is what we got on the shelf, do you want it? That sort of is that a key part of what?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, Jared. These big companies like turning the Queen Mary, right? I mean, they got to there's a lot of people that have to check off. There's a lot of egos in place. We make decisions based on the customer, and we make decisions based on new product on the customer. And as Rich has said, an inside sales guy could come to me and say, "Hey, I heard this person told me this is something that they need, and this is an issue." Well, if it's an issue with them, it might be an issue with a lot of other people, and there could be a new product idea. So I have no ego. I hire really good quality people. I set the culture, and then I get out of the way. And Rich is an example of that. I've got all the people that work here are just fantastic, and that we all collaborate with each other. And to your point, these big companies, a lot of them are concerned more about their investors than they are their customers. And
that does happen.
We every order that we get is a blessing, and we treat every order the same, whether it's from a big MRO company to a 1 or 2 man operation that might just have a web presence. They're all treated the same.
It is so important. And do you, you are a growing company, is that how do you plan to maintain that culture as more people come in? You get different voices. It's a challenge. There's a reason big companies have to operate that. They have all these systems in place, and we deal with them all the time in our business.
Sure.
And so you understand, someone says the wrong thing, and all of a sudden, a whole PR team is getting fired, things like that.
Well, I was at a conference here a year ago on this. I was talking with one of my colleagues, a good buddy of mine, and he goes, "Steve, what you got to do is you got to hire slow and fire fast."
Yeah,
and that's so true.
Yeah.
culture is so important in a company, and so if they're not, if their ego, if they got an ego and they can't get by that, that's not going to sit well in our business and with the people that we have. And so culture is probably our number one priority. Wouldn't you say, Rich? You get involved in the hiring process of pretty much everyone here.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And it starts with, as far as the culture, and it's a customer first. We're a customer centric business, as every company would say they are. But really, that's what it is. We take care of each other here day to day, and then that just bleeds out into our service levels and the way we treat our customers. And as Steve had said, with when we get orders through our different customer base, obviously we deal with bigger companies, we deal with smaller companies, but when you have a positive experience with a company or a brand, you're going to go back and you're going to order and you're going to continue to support them. And so what we really target in on is just making every experience and every interaction a positive one, and keeping it simple. If you're going to say you're going to follow up with someone, you do it, and you help them get it done and take care of them. So
yeah. And I was just going to say, Rich, say what you do and do what you say. It's so easy, but I can think of numerous times people are coming to me, maybe a new insurance company wants my business. They come here, we have this conversation, never hear from them again. It just blows my mind how people they get almost there, but then they don't follow through. And so that's one thing, as Rich pointed out, if we say it's going to go out in 2 days, it's going to go out in 2 days. If it doesn't, we're going to call you prior to that to say, hey, we had something come up that's completely out of our control and we're targeting this date. But communication is really the key.
Yeah. What you're saying though about when things go wrong, that to me is what makes a difference of a company. Anybody can pick up the phone when things go right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's easy. I have a lot of fun doing that. But when things aren't, in our business, sometimes it's engagement. You look at an episode and everybody else has done really well, and then this one's dropped off, and you got to say, "Oh, next one's got to do better," and you got to have that conversation. And it's talking when people are on the show talking. You have to tell them we have to change the way we communicate on the show. Those are.
I tell you, COVID absolutely devastated me. Prior to COVID, we never had a back order. Rarely had a back order. I shouldn't say never. Rarely. COVID put everything, just discombobulated everything. Right? You're waiting on a component that is this big, but you need it to fill this to the end product, and couldn't get it, and lead times and shipping and you name it, and we weren't alone. I mean, the whole world was faced with that, but it was a very trying time.
Did that though? That's a good question though. Through that time though, did you learn probably being nimble did help, that willingness to pick up the phone and direct communication, that all probably helped you. But did you learn things that sort of now are carried over from that tough period, even about your inventory management, supply chain, those types of things?
Yeah, we did. Well, I've always said, if you don't have it, you're not going to get the order. So I always weigh heavy on having inventory, because a lift is needed, and if you don't have it, they're going to go somewhere else.
Right.
So I lean on that. It taught us we need to have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 suppliers of the same product in line, in that we have a relationship with. In the event that one has an issue, maybe the other one doesn't. And so it taught us that we needed backup upon backup upon backup.
Now carrying over though, have a lot of those issues, have they been resolved? Are things kind of getting back to where they need to be on your end anyway?
They are. Yeah. I don't know if they're pre-COVID, but they're getting close.
Yeah, it was some of the conversations I was having, I mean, a lot of them were offline, off the camera, but some of it was just wild. One company had to literally, of course I'm not going to say who, but they had to charter a Freightliner to get their inventory across the water. It just became cheaper than shipping it through it. They just chartered the boat.
I know.
It was wild.
Well, I broke ground on a new house right before COVID.
Oh man.
Oh Lord. It took a year for just the appliances. So I was talking with the gal that I was buying my fridge from. She said, "We have everything but the foam." I said, "Yeah, the foam is what's going to hold up my fridge." And she said, That's the world. The whole world couldn't buy foam for refrigerators, but
man,
that's a different story.
crazy times. Yeah. And I wanted to just touch on, you have a unit that I wanted. It's like it's a hoist, but it's got the overload protection, or like a mechanism in it. I just wanted to touch on a little bit because it seems sort of again, there's another product that I've kind of worked with personally. So I was curious. I worked on the kind you just stop and it just wouldn't lift anymore, that type of thing. So what is this unit with the overload protection?
Well, let's let our sales manager answer that.
Yeah,
Rich,
right.
you want to take that one?
Yeah, so the overload protection, is basically a clutch and brake system within the housing of the hoist. But what it, in simplest terms, what it basically lets the user know, if it does transition into that overload, they're lifting a lot more than the hoist was rated for. So it's a very big safety feature, and it was really what kind of got Oz off the ground here for Steve. There was some other manufacturers that had it, included on their hoist, but it, either it didn't work very well or maybe didn't work at all. And Steve can kind of give you a couple of examples of that. But as he got started, he was able to come to the market with a unit that was, it worked, it was repeatable, it was serviceable in the field, and so we were pretty much the first to really kind of get that overload, and it worked, and you get it out in the field and it was repeatable, like I said. And so it really opened up a new market from a safety standpoint, which, safety is always on everyone's mind, but really in the last 15, 20 years here, it's really become a driver for a lot of businesses. You look at what one injury can cost your business, and so we found that companies want to put the right product in the hands of the right people, their service people, and they don't want to create unsafe situations. And so that overload protection really kind of kickstarted. It was, I believe, Steve, you can jump in here. It was basically the first product through one of our distributors that they gave it a shot. And I'll let you kind of take it from there, Steve. Maybe a little bit of that story there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, when I had my rep business, I called on a lot of the people that specialize in lifting and rigging. And there was a common thread, a common theme amongst them was safety, as Rich had pointed out, and teaching their customers, their end users, safe lifting practices. Well, I was convinced that most end users don't have a clue as to what the weight of the load is. And it might not be their own fault. It might be just there is no way to say, okay, this weighs 2,000 pounds, right? They don't have a scale. So they'll grab the smallest hoist because that's the easiest to carry.
Mm-hmm.
They'll hook up and they'll start making their lift. Now, there's 3 scenarios. 1, it makes the lift. 2, it doesn't make the lift. And 3, something fails. Chain breaks, hooks open up. And so this overload protection, the beauty of it was that it was repeatable. And so let's say you got in a situation where you're making the lift and you realize, man, I'm into the overload. It's not letting me make the lift. The brake still holds. You put it in neutral, put it in lower the load, release the load, and the hoist goes right back into service. So it doesn't need to come out of service because it's indicated that it's been overloaded. And it gives the operator a chance to say, I got to go get a bigger hoist. And the beauty of our Oz hoist with overload is, 1, they're price competitive to those that don't have it. 2, it virtually does away with part sales. Most hoists are in the parts bin getting reworked because they've been overloaded.
Right.
So that does away with that. And from a safety director standpoint, how wonderful is that to tell their people that, hey, if you did guess wrong, you're not going to get hurt, which is going to be my priority. And you don't have to take the hoist out of service and repair it. So it's really a win-win-win along the whole line of use.
And I want to touch on too the electric hoist. Is that I see it on your website. Is that a fairly large part of the business as well?
Electric chain hoist for sure. Anytime someone doesn't have to manually crank or pull a handle or pull on that load chain to move or the hand chain to move the load, absolutely, yeah. We have a fairly small range of those electric chain hoists, Jared, and it's basically what's classified as an H3 duty cycle. So it's kind of that intermittent use, but it's a real winner for us. That small range accounts for a lot of sales for us because people are it's a good price point, it's a good product, and it's kind of the meat and potatoes of the range. It's basically from a quarter ton to a 2-ton unit. So that's really kind of a very popular range as far as in the field there, what people are generally lifting. So you could be in a manufacturing plant where they have welding stations or machining centers, and you walk into any manufacturing facility, they're probably going to have one somewhere in the facility to lift dies or lift incoming material, or to service a machine. Maybe a filter has to be pulled out of that machine. And so, yeah, that's a very popular line. And to kind of piggyback off of that, we actually have another product. It's called a builder's hoist. So it's an electric wire rope hoist. But what's really cool about it is it's 90 feet of lift at 75 feet per minute. So that's been another product in kind of the electric side of things. People love the advantages of that speed. So you think about a construction site where they're on scaffolding and they need to maybe lift up some tools in a bucket or anything they physically don't want to have to try to lift themselves. It really, you can leverage those, and at a 500 and 1,000 pound capacity, you can really leverage the benefits of that speed and that lift capacity.
Just to add to what Rich just said, they're all 115 volts. So
yep.
It's easy. You plug it in and you're ready to go. You don't need to hardwire anything. And yeah, both of those units are very, very popular with us.
What would the builder's hoist? What application would that get used for? What were the
Well, we sell them to users like elevator contractors.
Right.
You think of New York City, how many elevators might they have? Right, a lot of them. And so they'll hang this hoist in the elevator shaft, and they'll use them to lift equipment. And to Rich's point about line speed, you might have 2 or 3 people waiting for whatever you need lifted to get to you. So the faster it gets to you, the more efficient those 2 or 3 people can be. And so, that line speed is sort of the main feature. And we also, as Rich pointed out, construction sites, scaffolding. We actually have a little jib arm that attaches to the scaffolding, and then you hang that builder's hoist from. So
right.
It's a kind of like a little system, and we sell a lot of those units.
Yeah, I bet. Actually, that sort of leads me, before we wrap up here, to something that sort of jumps out to me in your business now. Like the infrastructure bill got passed in the U.S. We've got in Canada. We've got, I think we're going to be 3 million. Sorry if I'm getting this number not exactly right, but it's like we're going to be 3 million units short by 2030 if we build the same amount of units every year that we're building. It's just
wow.
We're so behind. It's like we don't even have enough people that know how to use a hammer. It's just crazy. But that's sort of the situation. We've done episodes in Australia. They're running into some of the same issues. So I'm just curious, this must open up a lot of business opportunity with all the construction that's about, all the infrastructure that's going in place. It's sort of a pretty hot time for companies like Oz Liftings, I would think.
For sure, through the infrastructure bills and a lot of the drivers really outside of kind of our day-to-day control here.
Yeah.
That's where our business isn't seasonal. We because of such that broad scope there. You could be working with someone year round in California, whereas here us up in Minnesota, that's certainly not the case. It's construction season and then it's winter here. Generally, is what we kind of say up in the Midwest. So,
right.
And that's where with the breadth of product and just these applications, you're absolutely right, Jared. It presents a lot of opportunities for us to support a lot of the different initiatives, whether that's more of at the federal level or state level or community level, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we sell a lot of products. A lot of our Davit cranes go into wastewater treatment plants. Well, you can imagine the East Coast treatment plants are much older than the West Coast treatment plants, right? So there's constant refurbishing going on in the East Coast, and literally every town, ours included, 27,000 has a wastewater treatment plant, has a need for our type of product, and the application is for the Davits is mainly lifting submersible pumps and mixers, and
Right. Yeah.
they're used for maintenance. And so we go to specific shows like WEFTech, which was just in Chicago, where we had people from all over the world that deal with wastewater.
Yeah. We went to that event.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah. We were filming episodes there. It was a good event.
Okay. Yeah. It's a really good one for us too.
And are you seeing this? Actually, I'll ask you in a different way. What are some of the main for your growth? Because I know what's been happening for Oz Lifting. What do you see as the main contributing? I mean, we talked about the service, the infrastructure is coming in place, and so of course those are the factors. What do you see as maybe your top 3 drivers for expanding the business?
I would say number 1, innovation. When you go to a trade show, and if you do more listening than talking, people will tell you what they need, and they might not know exactly what they need, but they'll tell you of a situation that they have. And just as an example, the weight requirement for people to lift is going further and further down, right? So I think now it's at 40 pounds. Well, if you buy a steel davit, that davit's going to weigh 180 pounds. That's not, that's going to be a 2 or a 3 person lift. So, like our composite and our aluminum, it fits right into that idea that I can disassemble this crane, and the heaviest component's going to be less than that 40 pounds.
Right.
So innovation is one. Number 2 is the social media, the marketing and the advertising that we do. We had people at WEFTech coming to our booth with the magazine that we had advertised in. They were coming specifically because they saw that ad. So those trade shows are really important. The marketing is important, and just introducing new products. We're busting at the seams here right now. We're looking at another building that I'll be closing on at the end of this month.
Oh, wow.
I've got products that I want to release, but I can't because I don't have the room for them.
Wow. Oh, so you're upgrading your facility.
We are. Yep. We're really excited about it. We're
Yeah,
on top
I
of
bet.
each other right now.
How long have you been in this one?
Rich?
Well, that was what fall of 2009. I think we moved into this
too.
building, and I remember, there's no way we're going to be able to fill this, and what are we going to do with all this space? And here we are. We're looking at a plant probably quadruple the size of
Really?
what we're currently under to support not only, as we kind of talked about earlier, Jared, with the inventory requirements that's kind of critical to our business, but then just to support obviously the wonderful people here that come in each day and contribute to what we're doing. So make it a good conducive space for them for success and coming each day to help out the business.
Yeah, it's exciting when you hear a company that's sort of having that kind of growth. I'll leave you both. Rich, I'll start with you and then end with you, Steve.
Okay.
Rich, for you, you've been with the company a while. What is the motivation when you get into, people historically now, people are moving around on jobs, like they're moving from company to company more. And I think one thing that, if I was talking to someone who's starting up their career, I'd say try to stay with companies a little bit longer, because I think what people are doing is they think they're moving up, but instead of doing this trajectory, they're kind of just, a couple percentages at a time. What keeps you, you've been with the company a while, what keeps you motivated? What sort of gets you excited? What things do you do to keep that engagement at a high level that you need to be in a very competitive business?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and it boils down to the people. That's first and foremost, and cultivating a culture of winning and team and cooperation at all levels. One thing we really try to focus in is keep our people involved. You hear these different acronyms floating around, KPIs and VOCs and all those sorts of things. Well, we like to keep our people interested. Keep them in the know, have transparency, let them know what we're doing, let them know what we're working on, let them know things that's exciting in the business. And try to give people autonomy, let them come in each day, be creative, be themselves. Obviously as we were talking about earlier, as the business continues to grow, certain things have to shift a little bit from a structure standpoint, but we really try to focus on that team atmosphere. And you're right, in today's landscape, it seems like people are kind of moving every couple of years trying to seek new opportunities. And as you said, it in certain ways it's almost perceived as a lateral move rather than anything. And so that's from a day-to-day standpoint. We really try to create a positive culture. We come in, we want to work hard, treat each other with respect, put in a good day's work, and then go home to our families and friends and the things we enjoy doing. And that's the biggest thing. We really try to let people know that, hey, yes, we're obviously here to do work, we're here to conduct business, but we're going to have some fun while we do it, and take care of each other, and then ultimately take care of our customers. And so especially in the last few years here, as we've seen this growth of our company, we've really tried to key in on that, and you do that day over day, and you're going to attract quality people, and then you're going to retain those quality people, and that retention is really the key there, right? It's not like the days gone by where one person is at a company their entire career or for 20, 25, 30 years. That's just not the way it is. But if you can do those few things right each day, people want to stick around because they want to be around a culture of positive people and a culture of people each day trying to come in and do better.
That's a great answer. And Steve, I'm going to tweak the question a little bit for you. 20 years, I'm imagining you've had some ups and downs. I can't imagine every day was just this perfect scenario and every call you've had to make or every call you've got has been great. How do you talking to you offline, talking to you here, you still seem pretty into it. You seem really into it.
I love what I do.
Yeah. What do you think that is? Where does that come from? I've asked that to different people, and people have very different answers. Did it come from your family? Did it come from, was there an age where you looked at the landscape and said, I like to work and I just want to keep on going? What sort of brought you to sort of have this passion in the business world?
Yeah, I don't know. I was raised by my mom. My dad had passed away when I was a kid, when I was very young. And my mom was a nurse, and she worked at Cook County Hospital in Chicago. And she had a passion for taking care of people physically.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it rubbed up on me. I really enjoy pleasing people, solving problems. I love going to trade shows, and I love showing innovative products to people because I can see it in their eyes. They're like, how come somebody else didn't think of this? This is really going to help my job.
Yeah.
This is really going to help me be safe. And so I've just always had a passion for taking care of people. And I've told the staff here, I've said, you take care of the customers and I will take care of you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you're saying is absolutely true. I think sometimes as leaders, we think that our job is to take care of the customers, and of course it's part of it, but it really is taking care of your people because you can even the largest company. I always find this incredible and we deal with some of the biggest companies in the world. You can talk to anybody in their team, and I can pretty much tell you what their executives are going to be like. You can tell it bleeds down into every facet of the company, sort of that care and attention to detail and just the willingness to even hear people out. I think I connected with you through Ashley, and just the level of engagement and, giving us a chance to actually communicate what we're trying to do with you and all that sort of thing. That you can tell that comes from the top. There was no surprise when I met you. I went, yeah, okay, this makes sense. This is, the kind of leader that would connect. And taking care of people is to actually have a passion for it. And you said something else that I don't want to end this interview without touching on. You said you like pleasing people. I don't know if that was your exact words. Um, and what came to my mind is sometimes you'll see posts about don't worry about what people think and all that. So if you're in business, you better worry about what people think.
That's right. Yeah, no, that's for sure. I earlier in our conversation, I really mean this. Rich and I've got a fellow, Quinn Arnoldi, that works here. They really run the day-to-day business. I try and surround myself with good people, smarter than me, and get out of their way. Show them my vision. Here's how I want you to treat people internally as well as our customers, and then get out of the way. And so that's what I do.
Yeah, when I'm always worried when I say about people being smarter than me, I'm always worried my team's going to start nodding like, yeah, we are. Trust me.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much. Of course,
Thank
we're going to
you very
have
much.
plenty of
Yeah,
links to
thank you,
Oz Lifting and some of the products we've touched on. But it's an absolute pleasure to talk to both of you.
Thank you.
And I do some of these interviews, and some of them are just very fun to do. And this is certainly one of them. So thank you both for your time.
Great.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for watching. Like I said, we're going to have links to Oz Lifting's videos. You can actually connect directly with Steve or Rich. We'll put their LinkedIn link in the description below. Their website, their products. There's going to be plenty of ways to access it, so go check them out. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We love doing these shows and love the support of our advertisers and the audience and the feedback. It's just amazing. So thank you, and we will see you on the next episode of The Construction Show.